it's really going to make things more difficult, I think, for specialty coffee purveyors, and particularly those types of purveyors who do lead with the premise that the coffee industry is kind of broken and we should be thinking about solutions, not just profit.
And that's the power of the C market in the specialty coffee industry, I guess. Because when the C market is as strong as it is, even though inflation adjusted, it should, a fair price for producers today is much, much higher than what the C market is. But for all intents and purposes, today is high compared to previous years. Producers who grow specialty coffee are going to have to make a decision whether they continue to produce specialty coffee or they strip pick it and send it into the commercial market.
Hey friends, it's Lee Safar here with some exciting news. The introduction to regenerative coffee farming workshops are now available on demand in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. These workshops are designed to give you actionable insights into the future of coffee farming through regenerative agriculture. Whether you're a coffee producer, roaster, cafe owner, or just passionate about coffee sustainability. For coffee producers, the workshop is available for just $10, and for everyone else, it's $20, a small price to pay for knowledge that could transform your understanding of what it's going to take to grow coffee from now on. Led by our incredible professors Angela Barrero, Murilo Bettarello, Felipe Croce, Carlos Ordóñez, and João Araújo, the workshop is packed with practical knowledge and strategies to help coffee farmers and the entire coffee industry adapt to the challenges of climate change, rising costs, and market demands. If you're a business owner, this workshop is a great and affordable way to inform your employees about the challenges ahead while also supporting Mapper Forward. This is also a great workshop to share with or gift to your coffee producers. Head to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the description to purchase the on-demand version and start your journey towards a more sustainable coffee future today.
Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 3 of a 5-part series with Nick Brown, the editor of Daily Coffee News by Roast Magazine. And in this series, we're talking about connecting the dots of the coffee industry, and we've been talking about power a lot. Right now, for those people who had never heard about the C market, the C market is definitely something in the coffee industry that a lot of them are learning about. And for the industry at large, the C market is front and center of the discussion and taking up a lot of space in the discussion around coffee. Why? Well, because the C market is the futures market that coffee is traded on, and it seems to be playing a different role than it has played previously, particularly in specialty coffee. Nick, in your mind, what role is the C market playing this year that perhaps it may be a little different than previous years in specialty coffee?
Sure. I mean, just to put this conversation in context, as we speak, coffee, the C market, the C price had just crossed the $4 threshold, which I think it just has been important psychologically for the coffee industry. So I think that's a big part of this discussion. And also just prices are nominally high. You could argue, we could all argue about what high means. But most people, at least buying coffee, would tell you that they're living in a market where they're operating in a market where the prices are high. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answers that question.
To give people, we are recording on March the 26th, 2025. The market has been above 4 before, but it was below 4 for a couple of weeks, and people were worried. And the conversation was around, is there going to be a sell-off? Producers have been talking in our mastermind groups saying, Lee, we're really worried that prices are not, this is not a new normal, and that the price is going to crash. And are we going to miss the boat on selling the coffee that we've got? And so the C market in the way I've been looking at it is like this kind of puppet master that pulls strings on and pulls kind of toying with the emotions of a lot of people at the moment. And one thing that we have started to see with regards to specialty coffee this year and the C market is the role that the C market is going to play on the supply of specialty coffee. People typically don't see much of a relationship between those two things, but this year more than any year, that is going to have a role to play. In your mind, what role does the C market play in specialty coffee, and does it have any power there?
Yeah. I'll leave speculation to the people who...
not from a market perspective,
Yeah.
From the other side of things.
Yeah. I think, okay, from my perspective, just covering coffee, the C market is important just as or influential, just as a reference point, right? Like we in the media, if we're going to write about coffee and we want to say coffee prices are high or volatile, there has to be some number associated with that, or no one knows what anyone's talking about.
Right.
And I think a lot of people operating in the coffee industry kind of think about the C price in that way too. They realize it's sort of arbitrary and may not mean much, but it is a reference point that is shared among actors in the supply chain. So I don't think it's maybe discussed enough how bizarre it is that it comes from like a for-profit firm in New York that is not very public facing. Like there's not much known about the people behind this firm or what they or how
actually say more about that. I don't know anything about them.
I can't say more. So I mean, it's the C price that we're talking about, the Arabica New York futures comes from Intercontinental Exchange.
Yeah,
right?
ICE.
It was a for-profit firm in New York that operates the exchange. And that's about all or most people that I talk to in the coffee industry tend to know. So is that weird? I don't know. Anyway,
now you got me thinking
the other reason
I actually never thought to ask. Yeah, okay. I mean, will ask. I will find people and ask, but I never thought to ask.
Probably good questions for like economists or like people, MBA types, not English majors so much. But the other thing I think just look at all the conversations about price happening in coffee, and one is using that C price as a reference point, which whatever. Like I will say, I mentioned that the $4 mark seemed to be an important psychological marker. All of a sudden you're seeing headlines. All of a sudden you're seeing corporate blogs talking about what $4 means and why this is happening, and everyone trying to explain it away. And as that was going on, I kept hearing some of the same language over and over involving coffee prices, and particularly the C price. And I'm always looking at corporate financial reports and end of year reports and sustainability reports and stuff like that. And one of the phrases you've been hearing over and over and over and over on these reports is, this is a challenging operating environment brought about by the cost of goods. It's all some variation on that phrase, challenging operating environment. And I would never argue that it's not. But if you just go back 5 years, when 5 years, 2018, 2019, C price dips below $1, and
that's challenging.
The same sort of broad discussions. The language was very different. The phrases you were hearing at that time from the people who were most impacted were phrases like seasonal hunger, food
Yep.
or abandon the migration. So I think that helps hopefully provide some perspective on like when we talk about the C price and what it actually might mean to humans or how it plays out in the real world for different actors in the coffee nexus.
Yep.
I think that language is kind of a telltale.
When the media starts talking about this kind of stuff, the mainstream media and the financial media, when they start talking about these things, and $4 seems to be this, like you said, this psychological threshold for people, what do you think that does with the power dynamics of the consumer with regards to coffee? How impactful do you think that can be?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I will say now you're seeing a lot more companies who are buyers of green coffee saying the market is not like our operations are being hampered now because of the cost of coffee.
Right.
Or things are more difficult or more challenging for us. And I wouldn't, I'm not in any position to say that they're not.
Mm-hmm.
But that's very different than saying I can't meet cost of production at all, and the dynamics I think are different. Now you do have buyers, and a lot of buyers are struggling too. You're seeing more bankruptcy protection filings among traders. We've seen among roasters. We've seen many of them, unfortunately, like smaller businesses or specialized sort of boutique businesses within the specialty coffee trade. You're seeing some of that. I think I don't want to get too deep into the producer versus buyer conversation because it's so dynamic and multifaceted,
Right.
and hard to address on a broad basis, I think.
But do you think the consumer is picking up what the media is putting down? So the media is really pushing this signal that there's a problem with coffee. And the consumer, on top of all of the other problems that they're having, cost of living crisis, lots of geopolitical issues, etc., 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 do you think that the consumer is responding to what the media is discussing? Are we seeing this having an impact in the way that I guess the media is moving forward with things? Because how come the media hasn't? What baffles me is how is it that it's just now that the media is picking up on this? Is it the $4 that it's crossed the threshold? Is that what's causing the media to talk about this? Why is it now?
Yeah, I think the $4 market is more financial media than mainstream media. I think the cost of, I think in the current price environment, it seems that prices haven't yet funneled all the way down to consumers, at least on the in European and United States consumer side, right? So we might learn more about that later as that comes. Generally speaking, I think most consumers have been conditioned to believe that coffee should be cheap. And if it starts feeling too expensive, then yeah, they're going to have a problem with it. I don't know. Again, people seem to be drinking just as much coffee, at least in the United States and Europe and other very large consumer markets, and other consumer markets obviously are growing. So Brazil continues to be a massive consumer market.
Oh yeah.
The consumption is not slowing down, but the perception among consumers that coffee maybe will or should cost more does not seem to be registered.
you heard that Luckin's arrived in the US?
Yes. Arriving is what
Arriving, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have any opinions about what that's going to do to the market in the US, the coffee market?
No, I actually have no opinions of any kind.
You're a journalist. That's why you don't have any opinions.
I don't know. I mean, what you're seeing in the mainstream reportage of it right now is, it's just competitor to Starbucks is how you're seeing it's framed right now.
Right.
I think you could talk about Luckin, or you could talk about any number of large chains who are focusing on outlet growth, quick service, quick delivery, economical coffee that has a lot of the markers of specialty coffee, whether that's in the branding of the shop or the drinks menu or even the quality of the coffee itself. I can't speak to any of that. There's a lot of those places right now, and they're booming in the United States. I mean, this is a couple years ago. This is Allegro research. 3 out of every 4 coffee shops in the United States was owned by one of 3 companies. And I think anecdotally, based on what I've seen since, you've seen more chain growth within the United States. I would say chains probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 have grown quite a bit, whereas the smaller businesses, the really small ones, small chains and single locations are really struggling, really having a hard time competing. And part of that is availability of quality coffee at a price that they can afford. And if large chains are racing to the bottom on coffee, I'm not naming any names with that. It's really going to make things more difficult, I think, for specialty coffee purveyors, and particularly those types of purveyors who do lead with the premise that the coffee industry is kind of broken and we should be thinking about solutions, not just profit.
And that's the power of the C market in the specialty coffee industry, I guess. Because when the C market is as strong as it is, even though inflation adjusted, it should, a fair price for producers today is much, much higher than what the C market is. But for all intents and purposes, today is high compared to previous years. Producers who grow specialty coffee are going to have to make a decision whether they continue to produce specialty coffee or they strip pick it and send it into the commercial market. And that's going to, right?
Yeah, they're doing that right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's an unintended consequence of the C market having a power that, whether it was intended to do that or not, which I don't think it wasn't intended to do that. But the unintended consequence is we are going to see a significant reduction in specialty coffee availability in 2025 and moving forward if prices continue to remain at the level that they're at. And that's quite a powerful and sobering thing to grapple with. And what I suspect that we'll see is a parting of the seas. And what I mean by that is that there's going to be a divide, a widening gap between what specialty coffee is served. It's probably going to be the much higher grade specialty coffees and super high specialty coffee offerings in cafes versus the commercial coffee shops, which are probably going to be majority franchises and big corporations, and a lot of consolidation is going to happen as the year progresses. Is that something that you see is most likely the direction moving forward?
I could absolutely envision it playing out that way. And But again, I don't know that dynamic is that much different than it's been for the past over many years since
Right.
the birth of coffee chains. And I still think you're going to see more specialty coffee purveyors who are focused on trying to find like traceable or differentiated.
Right.
There, the availability of coffee is maybe a plus issue for sure, but it's not a conversation because I've had with some importers too, so it's another trade. Yeah, I think you will have an interesting point.
It's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic to follow as the year progresses and into the next couple of years, and no one's got a crystal ball to know how it's going to work, but I have a feeling that the C market's going to play more of a role in specialty coffee than it was intended to play moving forward, but we'll see how that plays out. Okay, next episode, folks, we're going to talk about my favorite thing. No, how do I say this? My least favorite thing that I love to talk about, coffee trends. Join us in the next episode as we talk about the making of of trends in coffee. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.